So, look, we were here last night when we were able to lift the lid, lift the silver tray and tell you who was getting the little gongs for the OAM. And I think we can all agree Sir Kevin would be the best or worst of all of those who get the little pin. Now, all former Prime Ministers eventually get this. He's knocked it back for ages, but apparently said yes this time for our Indigenous brothers and sisters. The actual citation was hilarious, though, of course, because, of course, it made reference to his economic achievements, let alone anything else. But what about the overall thing that I had to say about how these awards have been distorted or changed, or maybe they just need to be updated for 2020 here, which is limit it to 200, don't give them to people for doing their main job, maybe scientists to the exception, and other than that, do it on Australia Day, don't do it twice, because this has really become, for an awful lot of people, a little bit like a blue tick on Twitter. This officially means that you matter or not, but this should be for the librarian in Geelong.
I've never heard of a blue tick on ticket.
No, it means you are, what is it, you're authentic.
I'm unwoke, that's for sure.
God love you. But what do you think about just limit it, change the focus a bit?
Yeah, look, I think they have become a bit of a joke, and I don't want to insult people by saying that who've won them, but it seems to me that some of the people who win them now win them for the most dubious reasons, and I think that it should be something really special for people who've done something really special. Yeah. And it's not. It's hard. I was the president of the Executive Council, which boiled down as a minister federally who is supposed to be somewhat responsible. And, you know, I remember going to the meeting that decided it, which was simply the heads of the Premier's departments in all the states and a couple of their hangers-on, and they made all the decisions. And I remember having an argument about whether or not one Liberal should be getting a longer, getting, you know, a bigger award than a Labor guy who'd served more time. And it was that sort of silliness which means it's not real. You know, it's in the end it becomes an almost partisan thing. But whether it's partisan or not, there's no doubt it's not something that is objective. It's always subjective, and that's a big problem.
But also, as I said, you know, I talk about my mate Deb. She gets an OAM for the work that she's done with families who lose kids. She got an award. She could, you know, fine if she wants to put it on a title if she wants, but the actual thing's sitting in a drawer somewhere, as she always says. But how many people get these things? And they put them on their undies if they could. Like, it's just their official sort of recognition of awesomeness, and they rub it in everyone's face all day, every day.
The ACs, all of the ACs wear.
Yeah, well, there's an awful lot, including the services to tweeting ones. I mean, fair dinkum. This is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think I really like what you said about your ideas about how to actually restrict this. And I'll just give you an example. All those ideas will work, and I can tell you this from experience. They used to have an advertising, or they still do, advertising awards. You know, they were called awards, and there were gold, silvers and bronzes. And by the kind of year 2000, they'd reached such a ridiculous point where the guy who did the graphics for Bananas in Pyjamas was picking up a gold. And there were gold awards. Everyone had one, everyone silver. And in 2000, I became chairman of the mob who handed it out. And I said, this is ridiculous. They've been devalued to such an extent. Everybody's getting one. And I said, right, there can only be one gold award, there can only be 3 silvers, and there can only be a handful of bronze. Everyone else misses out. But the key thing is what you hit upon, Paul. There has to be a reason. And I said, you can't just give the typographers an award because they want one. You can't just give the illustrators an award because they want one. You've got to give for ideas. And it's the same as this. There's got to be a rock-solid reason why these people have done way above, beyond their job. That's the first thing. If they're just doing their job, forget it. But there's also got to be a really high bar of having gone out of your way for some extraordinary achievement to get these things, and they should be rare as hen's teeth.
Well, dare I say, in the same way that Australian of the Year is this, you know, one person in the country, one of 25 million is...
So I wouldn't have that award.
Well, but I'm saying, but the fact that how rare that is, right? I agree that this is what this should become, that this should become rare, and it should be something amazing that you've done in a lifetime, or certainly in the past 12 months. But the idea of getting it for services to tweeting, and I won't be mentioning their name on television because they kind of get off on that, is offensive, especially when that person was shit-canning the country on election night, yet still rolls through and gets the gong. Gary, how do you feel about less gongs for more worthy people?
Well, I think that'd be good if you could actually go back and review a few of these people, you know, get the video referee involved in a couple of the people, because there are people I know of who get the gong and then turn into the poo canners of Australia. I mean, there are people, we're allowed to have a variety of views, but, oh, look, Paul, I mean, you're going to, you're not going to get very many invites from many people with this proposal, because every Vice-Chancellor in Australia automatically gets an AC. Everybody who goes on a certain level of court gets an AO and all of these sorts of things. So
they all hate me anyway. I couldn't care less. I get Christmas cards from none of these people, so it doesn't bother me.
Well, then that's saving you postage, and you're probably putting postal workers out of business as a result.
I'm saving the environment. It's my bit for climate change.
And my dad was Secretary of the Postal Workers Union. Now I'm getting a bit worried here.
The OAM, the Order of Australia Medal, is the smallest part of this, and so I think there's only one comment I'd make, is that the OAMs is the big broad base, the people from the bowls clubs and the guides and the scouts who've done all that hard yard stuff you're talking about. They are the real suburban heroes, the recipients of the OAMs, and the further up the pointy end you go, the more gratuitous it can be. And I think your point, therefore, is worthy of discussion, Paul.
Well, as I said, it may end up going nowhere, but I think normal people have a fairly obvious reaction to stuff like this, which is they flick through and go, who? What? Oh, okay. Oh, at least that one was all right.